In England, we must therefore go into a national lockdown to stay at home.
I think it's important to acknowledge first things first here, that VR has an image problem. It's so difficult to convey what the experience is like without trying it, that we end up with adverts like this, and they look completely ridiculous until you've actually tried it, and then you'll understand that it is as scary as this guy's finding it, and you are fully immersed in a game in a way that you can't understand, I think, until you try it. Your whole body is in this game. And I think that really brings me on to the point I want to make with this video. Let me tell you about a game called Rec Room.
Yeah, if you literally just go to the Pride Fest room, you get all
Rec Room is a multi-platform game which runs on everything from PlayStation to PC VR to iPhones, which means almost everyone you know will be able to play. And it's free, so it doesn't take a lot of convincing to get them to give it at least one try. So what does that mean? That means that this has become, during Lockdown 3, the de facto place that I come to hang out with my friends.
This is a real adventure!
And there's a few really good reasons for that. Compared to something like a Zoom call, conversation works a lot more naturally in this game.
What's so funny? We're on an adventure!
And that's because, unlike a Zoom call, you have a sense of place here. You have a place within the room, and so does everybody else. You hear each other depending on who you're near to and where you're facing. So you can tell that there's a conversation happening over there and a conversation happening over there, and you can actually listen to one with your left ear and one with your right ear, like you would in a crowded room at a party. You can jump into a conversation and over into a different conversation. When you're on a quest and there's 4 of you, you'll naturally end up having little conversations between 2 of you as you go to tackle different objectives.
You can't stay behind there forever.
And of course, another big factor is that it gives you something to do together. So rather than just asking each other how it's been locked inside for another week, you can talk about what's coming up in the next section, what game you want to go play. You can play charades with each other and have a proper laugh about how terrible you are at drawing. And when you do just want to catch up, play 9 holes at the disc golf course, or jump around in your dorm room, and just have that chat that you would have had on Zoom.
It's kind of weird to think that you could have a position where, like, a job that you just took because you wanted to move to London ended up being the job that took you to Australia.
Yeah, I know.
Only able to do that job.
And somehow, all of these conversations, I think through being at just the right point on the uncanny valley, end up feeling more natural than almost every video call I've ever been on. And all that is really just scratching the surface, talking about people who I know who've met up with me in Rec Room, to really unpack everything that Rec Room has done for me over this lockdown.
I was born.
You have to talk about the randoms. In a game like this, there seems to be a perfect balance between anonymity and personality, which allows people to open up to somebody who they feel is a real person, but not a person that they're ever going to meet, and possibly may never bump into again in the game.
Do you just kind of jump and hold?
And that leads to sometimes very heartfelt conversations with somebody who may not have somebody else they feel they can talk to at that moment. I spoke to a guy close up, twice my age, from Australia, who told me about growing up on a boat and how his dad later sunk that boat in the ocean. That led to a conversation about his fears over his dad's health and him not slowing down enough as he grows older. What started with 3 or 4 of us sharing silly jokes around a campfire led to me and this young guy from England talking about everything from having to move back in with his mum to breaking up with the first girlfriend he ever felt he loved, and even his attempted suicides. It was a humbling experience, and I don't envy anyone who's having to spend their formative years in a lockdown. If you spend enough time in the social areas in this game, you'll find that there are hundreds, probably thousands, of young people out there who do a lot of their socialising in these kind of situations. Pandemic or not, a lot of people who are typically socially awkward feel they can open up in situations where their real face isn't an issue. They can present however they want to present.
You can't tell, youngster. I'm in my 60s.
It wouldn't surprise me if places like this offer a safe place for young people who are still figuring out who they are. And of course, this is the internet. At some point, a child is going to use an unacceptable racial slur to describe you. But all the rest of the time, it's pretty damn wholesome. You shake hands with each other to make friends. You high-five each other to revive. And when you want to party up, fist bump.
Don't do it if it's going to make you sick.
So why did I open this video talking about VR? That's because all these interactions and stories that I've told from my time in this game felt so real to me.
Good drinking.
And they feed my soul so much more effectively for that. And there's science behind this. Not just the immersion, but the non-verbal communication, body language nuances, and the perception of a physical presence. When I can go out and see my friends in the real world, this has absolutely been the next best thing. Big shout out to everybody who I've met along the way, and everyone who I've featured in this video. You're awesome. Keep being excellent to each other, and thank you for watching.